on then.
And welcome everyone this July 9th, Tuesday at 6:30 for the City of Canby Bike Ped Advisory Committee meeting. And do we have any minutes from, I never got it.
I sent them to you about a week after the meeting.
After the meeting.
I was right after the meeting.
Let's do on top of it. I double
You're on
checked
top
my
of it.
email.
Yeah.
I wasn't. So,
Who's supposed to take them this time? Oh,
Cliff, right?
that's why you're
That's what I
writing
have
stuff
it.
down. That's why you look on your phone.
thank you. Thank you very much, Brett. And
I can go print
missed
them
out
out
on this.
quickly,
Could
Mindy,
you?
forward it
Look
to
at
me.
the room that Brett sent.
Can you find them? Because I can try to, if you're not able to find them, I might be able to find the thing that I sent.
I don't remember seeing them, to be honest.
Yeah, no, and I didn't.
I only
There
printed out
they
the
are.
agenda and I was like, something's missing, and then I was like, I
Yes.
can't.
And it's in Word. Can I find
Yeah, I
it
think I
to
sent
you?
it in a format
That's
that would
totally
work
fine.
for anybody.
Great. And I am forwarding it to Emma. And okay. Be here shortly. And how'd you feel like that format works out?
I really liked it. It kind of forces you to be very succinct and it just simplifies things.
Great.
So I'll be interested to see what
Okay.
everyone else thinks
And,
too.
but you're used to that format.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so, Cliff, Russ may struggle more with it than.
Which format are you talking about?
The new minutes are in a different, yeah, and I think maybe, Mindy, you could send it, I wonder if you should send it, I mean, the final version, I wonder if you should send to everybody so they can use, if people like it, and then you
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
template,
yeah.
but, yeah.
Send the template out.
Or
I'm just
maybe,
thinking, I don't want to make it too difficult for the person doing it. If you're not familiar with the program, then, it's a learning.
oh, it's not a program,
Or
it's
so you
just
do the
a,
format.
it's
a
just the
list?
format, it's like a table. It's
Oh.
kind of
Yeah.
putting the information in a table form.
Okay,
Yeah.
So it's just a lot, like I said, it just kind of makes it better categorized, I
I'll
feels
see what it
like.
looks like in
and
just a
it-
moment.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Here it comes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I print enough?
And how did you get this format?
Well, it's what we use for work, but what I use at work, or what my work, and it actually came from a project manager who works elsewhere, and then we adopted, I liked it. It was better than what we were using at work, so we adopted it for work.
Why reinvent the wheel if you don't have to?
Yeah, exactly. But it's not, I mean, it's not anything too revolutionary or
Yeah.
weird.
I like the action items.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm just saying I don't have this format.
Yeah, well, if they're
We'll
sent
send out
to
a
you,
template.
yeah,
you
if
send
it's,
it,
Then you
and
can
then
use it.
you
yeah.
just copy it and then use it whenever we need it.
yeah, so,
Huh, come on in.
Hi,
Come on in.
Colin.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
so maybe, Mindy, if you like them, do you want to send them out to the group and then everybody will can use it, you can just
Yeah.
delete the information and put in the updated information. for whoever's doing it.
I'll send out,
The last meeting right now.
And we can add category, like I didn't put in categories that we didn't end up talking about. But if there are other categories that could always be added in, and I mean, it can be tinkered with.
I'm curious, we got action items. Action items should be kind of carried over to the agenda for tonight. Does that work?
Now you get things complicated.
No, that's the whole idea of action items is you follow up.
Yeah.
So I can say with work, what we do is we actually use this same thing for the agenda. So we kind of take the minutes and make an agenda out of that
Yeah,
too.
which is exactly what Bruce is
Same.
Yeah.
saying, yeah.
So
And,
as we do our
That
agenda
would
tonight,
be-
we need to kind of look.
yeah.
It's a learning curve. I think
Yeah,
it's,
exactly.
I think
It's
it's a
just
good.
experimental.
I think it's a great accountability thing, and I like the way it's written. How does everyone else feel?
I'm an old dog.
Yeah, we know.
Well, we can try it, and then if it's, you know,
Well, right now, everybody's doing it differently. So you know, as many people as want to do it. You know, if Cliff doesn't want it.
We'll give it a try. Let's give it a try and see what happens.
yeah.
And Cliff, if you have the template, then all you'll need to do, if you want to do it like this, you can just delete the updates and add the new, see how your notes fit into,
Right.
just mess around with it.
If you do or you don't, it's okay, you know, it's okay, but you can kind of play with it a little if you want. And once you're ready, I will take a
Make a motion to
Motion.
approve the minutes as written.
second. All in favor? Motion approved. Minutes approved. Thank you very much. And tonight, recording minutes is Cliff. Thank
What
you.
about next meeting?
And next meeting
Russ, right?
will be Russ. And,
After that.
yeah, and then hopefully we'll bring on some new members too. So moving on, since we have we're talking about minute takers and new persons, any applicants?
Not that I've been told, so I
Did you end up looking into posting it in the paper?
I went and tried to see if I could find like what the previous posting was, and I did not have luck with that. And I dropped the ball on, I was just gonna write a new blurb, but I dropped the ball on that. So I can bring a blurb to the next meeting, and then you all could approve it at the next meeting, if that sounds good. I was just gonna write a couple sentences, you know. Oh, that's true. Yeah, and we have.
I've posted it a few times and
Yeah.
there didn't seem to be any. I honestly feel that the type of person who still reads a real newspaper would also be the type of person who would go in who would be interested in this. It's just my,
Anybody put it in cards?
I think I had at one point, yeah, but I can say that I think well, at least from the people that we used to ride bikes with that are part of CARBs, I feel like we've kind of exhausted the possibilities of
Yeah.
those.
The ones who would do it,
They have for short periods of time, or they've tried it
Or
out or
they
whatever.
expressed an interest and then,
okay.
Yeah, unless there's a bunch of new people on CARBs, but I kind of doubt that.
did you put it on, was it on the logging?
It was on Logging Road and CARBs. That was like a couple months ago, and I could do an updated posting, but I don't know. I wonder if, Emma, if you do come up with a little spiel for the a little blurb for the newspaper, you could send that to me maybe, and I could just also, that way we have the newspaper and the social media stuff covered.
Sounds good.
And I don't think it's anything we have to vote on or anything, because it's pretty standard.
Sure.
city
Okay, so
business,
I would trust
so
Emma.
I totally
Okay,
trust
yeah.
you to.
and I was just gonna say, are you interested in, walking, biking? Here's what the committee does. Look online for more or contact.
And as we're moving forward on the agenda, going to, since there's no public comment tonight, let's take a minute on new business and talk about multi-users conflict in e-bikes. Bruce, over to you.
We meet the second Tuesday of the month. Parks and Rec meets the third, so they meet after us. And 2.5 weeks ago, roughly, I got a call from Barry wanting to meet. I'm trying to get ready for a ride.
Barry Johnson.
Barry Johnson. And I said, hey, I can't, but let's talk about it over the phones. So my wife's right next, she hears all this. But apparently they had a complaint in the Parks and Rec department, or Parks and Rec committee, about e-bikes on the logging road, going too fast, scaring kids. And so they had a discussion about it. And then, one of the options was to ban e-bikes and then ban bikes altogether. And Barry starts alluding to the logging road as a trail. In other words, pedestrians only. And, I got my antenna up and I said, okay, well, let me do a little research and I'll get back to you. And so I have a couple ideas and I want your input and your thoughts what to do. I also learned, and not through Barry, that they had 2 openings in Parks and Rec committee. So I applied for one of them. Today I learned they have 2 applicants and 2 positions, but they're going to remain the positions open longer, see if they can get somebody.
Somebody other than you.
Yeah,
Other than you.
I have a feeling that may have been it. I don't know.
Maybe I should apply and that'll really get him.
Yeah, that's right. Your wife will love it. So, that cool, that idea. So, I contacted Scott Hosher at the county and trying to get his ideas. I do know the trolley trail in the Milwaukee area has had complaints about e-bikes. And so we came up with some signage answers. And let me get this up. If I'm lucky. I'll go over them with you, I hand the iPad around so you can look at them. But Kathy heard all this conversation, just said. So she went out to Smith Rocks with Rob when I was on my bike trip. She comes across this sign. She takes a picture of it. And I'll read the sign to you. Respect other visitors. Why? Whether hiking, climbing, running, bird watching, or dog walking, everyone has an equal right to enjoy the park. Please respect other visitors to ensure a positive recreational experience for all. Natural sounds are a key part of the Smith Rock experience. Consider those who seek serenity and focused concentration by minimizing noise and let nature sounds prevail. Be curious, yield to other users on the trail. And I thought, this points out, it's not just, it's all trails and different things. So that's one aspect. The other one was simply electronic speed sign, like we have on the roads.
Oh.
And I thought, that'll be great. You put that at the bottom of the hill, and you're gonna have kids say how fast they can go.
Yes.
But that was one answer. Here's another one. Be nice, slow down, and say hi. And here's another with a speed limit and a pathway slow zone. Yield to slower users. So I'll pass it around. It's an album, so there's only 4 pictures, so you can see them. So some takeoff of that idea, kind of being respectful to other users would be the theme. Instead of stay to the right, dogs must be leashed. Instead of a do's and don'ts, kind of a more general, a positive approach.
And I think something really short.
In short, I think a ban on e-bikes or bikes, all you're going to do is see people violate that ban. The worst offenders at that, at least on the e-bikes. And I mentioned this to Russ and asked if he would be willing to come to maybe the next meeting. So I talked to Barry this morning. It's not going to be on their agenda. They're not going to discuss it this next meeting.
Good, I can't make it anyway.
Good, and neither can I. But I did say, hey, we have one e-biker who I think will be quite upset.
I wrote something up if you want.
Yeah, send it to me if you want, or
Well,
hold
I
on
can
to it.
tell you now, I think.
Oh,
Oh, no, I don't have to though.
you don't have to. You can wait. But
This has to do with today.
I think we'll want to have it in our back pocket because I think there's a number of seniors and people who have e-bikes who are riding responsible.
Part of what I was going to put in here was this thing about banning e-bikes is not just here, it's all over the country.
Right.
And I'm on a number of e-bike sites. And most of the time now it's, oh, great, finally our city is allowing e-bikes because the pressure has gotten to be so much for e-bikes. And so this is my own thoughts on it. Based on what I've observed and based on what I've read on these sites, is that I think the majority of people riding e-bikes are 50 or older. They have I may have a bad knee and a bad hip.
Yeah.
I started riding my e-bike a lot when my foot was hurting. I was still riding my regular bike, but I had the e-bike and I wasn't riding it that much, but I broke my toe and I couldn't press on it. So I started riding the e-bike and pretty much been doing that. The last 2 bike trips in Europe, I rode e-bikes and everybody was riding them. Everybody had to ride them on the one trip. But if extrapolating one complaint from one bad actor, it reminds me of a story I read a few years ago about a bicyclist in Spokane on a road bike was going like a bat out of hell down a bike path there or a path there, and he ran flat into a woman and he broke her bones and all kinds of stuff, and he blamed her because she got in his way because he yelled pizza. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, he said when he found out if he yelled pizza, people would go, what? And they'd look around, He didn't think to say on your left, on your
Yeah.
right, ding a bell, whatever. But anyway, that's a sort of isolated thing that can happen if you got a bad person. If you got somebody that's speeding with their car, throwing a 25-mile-an-hour zone and going 50, I guess you could ban all cars.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same situation. And I wrote something on there about being courteous. And today when I was out riding, I made a conscious effort to look at everybody, and almost everybody smiled,
Mm-hmm.
nodded or smiled. A couple ladies were talking to each other and they didn't take notice of me, but for the most part, everybody smiled. And that's pretty common. That's pretty much what we see all the time we're out riding, because we're all courteous riders. The people that I see, and I have a throttle, and there's 2 types of e-bikes, one with a throttle and one without a throttle. In Europe, you can't have a throttle.
You have 3 types.
3, what's the third?
The third is the throttle.
Throttle only.
There's one up to 20, and there's another one, and they're up to 25, and then there's nobody with a throttle.
Yeah. Well, I have a throttle and pedal, but I pedal, almost all the time. But about the only people I see using a throttle are kids.
Mm-hmm.
and you've probably seen them. Most of the people my age that are out riding are trying to get some exercise, trying to see stuff, and they're pedaling. Even if they're in the highest assist level, they're still pedaling because they're trying to do something. So, I mean, yeah, this is something that needs to be very strongly advocated for,
Exactly.
because,
And this city is divided not only by the railroad, but by 99E. And it's difficult for a pedestrian or a cyclist to cross. Maybe the hardcores, won't be intimidated, but most people are intimidated by that crossing 99E. And that's the only safe place, really safe to cross. And so I think we need to make that argument.
yeah, I did too, that the logging road trail is the only trail in Canby that's safe all the way, except for
It's
crossing.
not a trail.
A road. I use
No,
road.
no, no,
I use
no,
road
no,
all
I
the
use
time.
no.
path.
It is a
Road. I know, it's
it's
cars.
a multi-use path, which is a very important distinction, and we'll get to that in a
All right.
minute. Please
I
go on,
tend to
sorry.
avoid going on the bike on the logging road because I find pedestrians a hazard.
I understand. I have a friend that up in Snohomish, and he won't ride on bike paths or
Yeah.
paths because of pedestrians, because, yeah, we've all run across where you've got 5 people across it. But I'm not gonna go to the parks and say, ban pedestrians on the bike path. It happens sometimes. There's a variety of things. You just have to be aware.
I see something, just a thought.
Mhm.
I think a speed limit posting of, 10 miles per hour just reminds people to take it easy if they're going too fast. The ones that will ignore anything anyway. And you're not, with it like something like it says 10 miles per hour, you're not saying e-bikes have one rule, bikes have another rule, it just tells everybody at the logging trail, it's not a speedway,
Right.
and take it casually or something like that. I'm thinking that's probably much better than trying to say, e-bike or not e-bike, because how do you even know? I mean, you kind of know the difference, but some of the e-bikes are pretty, well, some of the ones with the big fat.
Some are less obvious.
Some of the other, and so you're got to say, is he cheating or not? But I'm just as scared of, I'm not a bike rider, I'm a pedestrian, but just scared of a non-e-bike person going fast as an e-bike
Right,
person going
exactly.
I also like the yield to slower users thing, because as a pedestrian, I feel a little bit protected having that there, like,
Yes.
maybe the cyclist will, it just makes people,
I like
regardless
that
of, I
comment.
don't know.
I like that comment, yield to slower users.
And just like a 10 mile per hour speed limit and sign there, it just reminds people to go slower. I mean, obviously some people will go.
Did we put one up? We never
No, we did not. And the problem is, so you have a speed limit, or you can enforce it, and it's pretty slow for a bike,
The enforcement of it doesn't come in ticketing. It's if there's proof that they are speeding greater than 10 miles an hour when an accident happens, then there's more
It doesn't have to be 10, it could be 15
force in
or
the
something.
law. It's not like
Well,
we're gonna get ticketed.
Today, my speed for, the 9 or 10 miles was 13.2.
Yeah.
But I mean, that included going down the hill after the railroad when you get to 20. But then going up,
And they just approved in our budget a ramp on the other side of 99 so
Right.
people can access the
Fred
90, Fred Myers without, going over the tracks. And so there'll probably be more people, once that's there, I suspect there'll be more people that'll be using logging trail as a road to get from point A to point B rather than just to go back and forth.
We gotta train multi-use path.
And the more
It has to be a
Yeah.
multi-use path because that, I think we need to try to do our best on recognizing multi-use path because that's a paved path for users walking, pedestrians, bike, wheelchair, all that. And so it really affects funding and maintenance and also emergency. And a trail is technically a natural surface, an unpaved surface. So when people are just casually saying trail, there's a huge difference, and we need to be,
Keep drilling that in.
yeah, it's gonna be important. And when, going back kind of to what you were saying, is that you're gonna have, wheels are an important part of being able to get out and exercise for people who have joint issues, all kinds of things.
Well, there's
And,
so many-
and it's even their way of
Getting around. Well, there's so many people who, rode bikes when they were kids, as a kid riding a bike, and then went off to college or whatever, and then didn't ride again and got to be 50, 60 years old, and then, I better do something. Well, biking sounds kind of fun, but starting to bicycle with a road bike at 60 is not, you're not going to get many people doing that. So the e-bike is a real great thing for.
Excuse me, what did the city council approve?
A ramp,
A ramp.
yeah, on the south side of 99.
To get over the railroad tracks there.
I
Down
kind
Is
of,
the ramp going over the tracks?
It's not gonna go over the, I don't think it's gonna go over, it's not going over the tracks. It's on the south side of the 99, so I'm not sure, I haven't seen it designed yet, but we approved money for it for the next year. And so there's a string of dollar bills that are. But the idea is to be able to get down to the Fred Meyer's without, I think it's gonna connect to the sidewalk. And then-
Yeah, that would make sense.
you would think Fred Meyer would fund some of that too, but,
Well, yeah, and the railroad too, they don't,
But
yeah.
And the railroad's always been complaining
connect
about.
well, yeah,
on
they-
the
for
side
years
of
they've
the
been doing it.
self-storage, like you said, on the south side, and then they'll probably just take the, excuse me.
Another thing about having more, if there are more pedestrians, that will also probably have the effect of naturally limiting the speed of bicyclists, because if they see more people, they're just more aware that, oh, there could be a person around this curve or whatever, and just get used to, I don't know.
Should we send, Bruce, what do you recommend this committee do
I
to?
think, we'll probably form two people to come up with some ideas. And they'll probably have me and I don't know who. And, basically I'm hearing respect, yield to slower users, maybe a speed limit.
The main message is don't ban bikes.
Right.
I'll work with you.
Can I add kind of something else to consider? And I agree with the action items personally, but I think, I think the way the campy is now, right, nobody's really, if very few people are bike or walk commuting to work or necessities such as, groceries and all that. But the logging road for some of those people may be the only pathway. And so I think about like someone using that to get to work, they might be going fast. And so I'm not saying we shouldn't do this, and I agree that it's important for them to consider, like, okay, there's a speed limit. Okay, if you're bike commuting to work at 8 a.m., is the road, is it busy? Probably not, but just something to consider that for some, this is possibly the only bike access to where they're going. And so, maybe more just for the long run, do we think about other ways to provide similar type of access that is roadway access, that is less dangerous than commingling bikes, on a multi-use path, have everybody in the same kind of lane of travel versus if it's on a street, they're in a bike lane and there's the pedestrians on the sidewalk.
So something more conducive to the commuter versus just the recreational out.
Which it's a very small, I think if any, it's a very small category, but just thinking about how,
I look at the bike ped as really appealing to more of a novice rider.
yes, yeah,
Hardcore, like
sure. Yeah,
Cliff,
if
who
you wanna
never
go
uses
road
it anymore.
bike, yeah.
He doesn't need it.
But if you are a teenager who live at your parents' house up by, Territorial and you work at Fred Meyer, isn't that the fast, I guess right now you can't get, but could that be the fastest way to get to work and you're going, so like thinking about just, there could, in the future, I think especially like, the goal is that as we grow as a community and kind of become more accessible in other ways than just cars, is there a way to make that work for those folks as well? I think it's just something to consider. Or do we consider really saying like, hey, this is, really intended to be a leisure-based
Well,
path?
I think it's definitely much more of a leisure-based
Yeah.
thing. I mean, I see people that are obviously going to work, people working, farm workers, and
Yeah. Right.
I don't see them on the bike path. I see them riding the wrong way on the streets.
Is that because there's no bike lane?
Up on the sidewalks and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a
That's a whole
common,
different
my
world.
son was using the bike trail to commute to Baker Prairie and back. It's a real good way of going across town that way. And the railroad has complained a lot of people using the bike path to keep to Fred Meyer's. Well, they cross the tracks, but they're using the
Yeah.
bike.
It's not a proper pathway.
That's
Yeah.
why,
It's not a proper, but they're using the bike trail to commute to the point where they can't, and then
The bike path.
they're going yeah. So the idea is, I think it is a very good north-south way for pedestrians to get from north to south, and I think it probably will, especially once a ramp is put in, you'll probably have more people utilizing the bike, the use path to, and I don't think there's anything wrong with bikes on it. They just maybe slow speed limit or something, but some people are ignored. I do every once in a while. I think last week I got ran off a sidewalk by a bicyclist. And I don't know, like I said, there's always people out there that don't just ignore everything.
I think there's a way in which it exists. I ride on the waterfront trail in the west side of Portland a lot, and that is pedestrian, I know that I'm gonna be inching along for that section, but I've chosen to ride down that path knowing that it's a Saturday morning and there's tons of people, and I just have to know that, okay, I gotta take it, 5 miles per hour.
Well, in
Well,
Bali,
you
they
don't-
have people who grab your bike, like literally they're selling stuff and they want you to buy their stuff and they grab your handlebars. So you can't go as you're riding your bike, so you can't go anywhere.
There's
This is
a
all-
cheap,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
one
no-
that's
no
right
business.
fast, right on NATO Park.
Yes, right, exactly, you have an
alternative,
which is kind of, right, we, in theory, you could offer, which is kind of like Cliff, I assume you're maybe doing something like that, finding an alternative path on a road.
This also brings up that I attended the summit for the comprehensive plan, and they broke out in tables, and you were there, right?
Is there one of them? I know there's lots of them.
The fourth one that was just last month
I wasn't
or
one of
the
that.
beginning of this month.
I did one in February.
So anyhow, and this was really referring to the TSP and what community members' main concerns were. And I was shocked because I think we were the second table to go, but the vast majority was for transportation safety plan was more biking and walking and connected sidewalk gaps, infill for and infrastructure for sidewalks and safe biking and walking in the city. And
Yes.
isn't that something? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was table after table after table. And so I would suggest that that be also considered by the Parks and Rec Committee if they start to be concerned about.
I don't see where that would be a connection, something they would have on their plate.
Yeah.
If too much.
Yeah, good. So,
But yeah, I think it's good, and I think what we've been saying, so.
well, and I mean, in regard to the e-bike you know, but there's gonna be demand for adequate pathways, so.
I'd be willing to help with the priority of gaps to be filled.
Okay.
Yeah.
So moving, is there an action item on that at this point?
It didn't sound like it.
Well, there is a proposed action item that I follow up with Parks and Rec and see what happens.
And this committee liked some of those suggestions, is that correct? Yield to slower users.
Yeah, I got basically one, respect other users, yield to the slower users, speed limit. Those are the 3 key ideas. And I've done that, those 4 photos. From there, I don't want to tell them what to do, I want them to get.
Yeah.
You know, it works
Oh, yeah.
better if you make it a joint venture.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And also, but just to give them some concrete things from this committee is
Yeah.
that they were concerned, so we're concerned, and we're trying to offer some options.
Exactly.
So, all right, continuing on old business, Bruce.
Under old business, I'm going to suggest we consider putting up another bullet point, action items, follow-up action items. Because we don't have a format for it, and that would solve that problem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And Bruce, I understand that this month and next month, like Ped is for Clackamas County not meeting. Is
For
that
this
correct?
month, they did not meet. Now, I don't know about next month. yet.
Next month, I think they said they were on hold for next month also. I just saw that email before I
Okay.
came to the meeting.
Okay, I didn't see it.
So,
I'm not surprised, and it's something, you know, we haven't taken a summer month off. We might want to, that's another subject altogether.
yeah. Mhm. I agree. All right, but we can talk about that when we get to our next meeting. All right, staff and council update, any pertinent things towards our committee we need to, would be helpful?
I have a few items, but if you wanna.
Oh, I already mentioned
Okay.
that they're putting a ramp on the,
That's really exciting.
That's a good one.
It is big
That's a good one.
That they've,
Lots of talk.
yeah, and so the next thing is that they have to come up, contract for a plan or something.
yeah, that's gonna be part of it. It's been approved for the budget. I don't, I for life remember how much they approved. It was either like 100 or 200 grand. There's talks about doing the whole logging trail bridge. That's been to redoing that, but that was like had a huge price tag and no one could stomach the price tag. It was like $2 or $3 million to repaint the bridge and to do a
Well, they're
ramp.
not repainting it? Oh, I thought they already had that
That's
in the
not, no,
pipeline.
no, it's too expensive.
We gotta move that down to build the
The
bridge over the Malala.
the
Take that amount of money. I'd
the
rather
reason
do
why
that.
it's so expensive is you have to shut down traffic to do it. That's basically, that's what they say. Now, I'm not an expert at it, but that's what they told, say, that's why it's so expensive to paint the bridge is because you have to, it's the traffic control. That's the real heavy
But you're
cost.
deferring maintenance and pushing it down the road.
Yeah,
I know,
Okay.
I guess, and
I don't know
eventually,
if it needs it,
It's-
how bad it needs it, but
they say it gets inspected every year and it's still rated for, good for having a fire truck drive over it, so. Yes, yes, that's where that is starting to rust and everything, and it's, you know, when was a warehouse or built to
I mean, are we losing a deferred maintenance in the sense that it's gonna cost more down the line if we don't paint it now?
It'll always cost
Right.
more down the line
Yeah.
because things get more expensive. But we
I-
had a lot of discussions in the budget meeting, so that's why I'm just telling you what the discussion was.
And I don't mean that it'll be more expensive down the line, I mean that the deferred maintenance means that there will be more decay
Oh, yeah. No, we
And
talked about
then
it. You're absolutely right. It will cost more to do it later than it is to do now. But there isn't a good source of funds to do it that people want to use. There's the council consensus right now is they want to shut down the urban renewal district, and maybe they could open up a different one later. And that's talk as well, to open a different urban renewal district after this was expired, but they want to expire this one, so that cuts the funding off. And there was a list of things we want to do with the money, and we couldn't come up with the whole price tag to do that, so it was divided amongst other things, but we got the ramp, you know.
Hey.
Take
Yeah.
the ramp now.
we'll take the
And
ramp.
we'll worry about the paying later.
Yeah,
But originally they said we'd have a whole off ramp on both sides of the 99, but that's gonna just be on the south side of the, line, so they
Yeah.
pared it down a little bit.
It makes sense.
it's okay, yeah.
'Cause you don't have a sidewalk on the other side.
Yeah, but apparently the big construction cost is traffic control on 99, so maybe, if, something else shuts down. You're gonna come up with the paint.
People will love that, wouldn't they?
When they paint bridges, they don't shut down the
Yes.
river traffic.
Yeah, I don't know, that's what they were, yeah.
Might not be tall enough. I don't know how you paint a bridge.
They don't want paint to drip on the cars.
I thought about that.
I don't know, like I say, that was, and then of course they have to shut, it's the railroad is too as well, because the railroad is, apparently, the railroad kind of just owns the town, I think, of Canby, pretty much. Or they tell Canby what to do all the time, I guess, as far as things go in life.
Yeah.
The railroad has got a trump card. I mean, they've been there longer than the city itself, and they do what they want, and they tell us what to do. That's one of the things, even the safety on the, for the rail safety, they're like, can't do it, the railroad doesn't agree to do it. We've got a couple of people got hit by the train this year, and I think there's even a lawsuit that can't be named on one of them, but it's one of those things where I think there could be some more safety improvements on the crossing that, people are still gonna do
You're
stupid
talking
things.
mainline.
What?
You're talking mainline.
Well,
Mainline, not the Oregon Pacific.
yeah, not the Oregon
What
Pacific.
railroad company is it?
I think it's
Union
Union
Pacific?
Pacific. Union Pacific, and actually, I think the
Well, the
Union
spur
Pacific
is something different.
even owns the spur, but I think they're leasing it out to the Oregon Pacific. But anyway, yeah, that's, the one that happened. Chief Davis was talking about what happened with the most recent one with the guy. The guards are down, the lights are flashing, but what happens is, I think in two scenarios, is that when they see a train, the train's not moving, and they don't think that there's a train on the other side.
Oh,
And that's what happened, I think, twice, the last at least couple of years, where at least it's very highly plausible. They saw the train wasn't moving. It's safe to go because the train's not moving, but there's another track.
there's another track.
And so the last one, the train was stopped right before the intersection. The guardrails were down. And the guy said, apparently the guy who got hit was deaf, but the train that was stopped was blowing its horn. The Amtrak was blowing its horn. Had a whole bunch of kids on the Amtrak, and the fire chief was talking about having to use the hose to spray off it was 60 mile per hour. So, basically what happens when a 60 mile per hour train hits a pedestrian is, but one of the things that at least I thought that could sometimes, some places have a little sign that says 2 trains coming, not just one, because they see one train, because the one on the Oregon Pacific spur, they usually go very slow. And so if you're smart or you're fast, you can go around it or whatever. It's not going to come super quickly, but that blocks the view of the other one, and it uses the same crossing guard mechanism, the same. And so if you're ignoring the one, you say, "Oh, I see that right there," but look, it's going slow, or it's kind of paused there. I can just go around it. I don't know. I've been thinking about it myself, what a good way to do it, but maybe a sign that says, "Hey, one train." Now there's 2 trains coming, but I don't know. People who are ignoring signs are going
Or
to.
blinking, some kind of blinking lights on the tracks.
I mean, because you have the crossing guards, of course, as a vehicle, you can't go around, at least not but as a pedestrian, and I remember when I was a kid, I'm still alive fortunately, but I would do, the train stop and go walk under it or walk around it. Things like now, it's like, that's kind of dumb, but somehow I survived. But it could be because most of the time it works. Most of the time you do that, and it's perfectly safe. Because most of the time there's not a train coming. Every once in a while there is.
It's not safe, but it's not traffic, not tragic.
Yeah. And so, and the one that happened earlier this year was, he was commuting on the tracks when he got hit. And so, and that that's why I'm hoping the ramp will help a little bit with the need to commute on the tracks, because it gives, and hopefully with these improvements, they got the sidewalks going in, that'll help, so people won't see the need to commute on the tracks,
But maybe a sign we ought to put up for pedestrians, a sign saying, pedestrians, be careful, because we don't care about you. I'd put,
I thought you were gonna say pedestrians, don't be stupid.
well, I know that's not true, but I mean, there's places that are, having 99 is something, going down here, it's something that just hasn't been given enough attention for pedestrians over the many years. I mean, look at Pine, these people, there's a crosswalk on the, I guess that's the west side. And then you have to go across there and go across a crosswalk if you want to go to Fred Meyer's. So you're going so you're coming up and then you're going across here and then you're going across there. And because there's not a crosswalk on the other side. So it's like, I guess it's like when you go into Fred Meyer's, it's the same thing. Crosswalk only on one side, not both sides. You'd have to have 2 stoplights, I guess, if you had that.
I mean, it would, in a dream world, it'd be so wonderful to have one kind of connecting from the north side there near the event center.
I walked to Fred Meyer without a problem.
What?
I walked to Fred Meyer without a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know you can walk to Fred Meyer's without a problem. I'm not saying it's a problem. It's just, it has to do with human nature, what I'm saying. But I don't think the down by Fred Meyer's is nearly as bad as on Pine.
Yeah.
Personally.
And there should be improvements coming soon there, so.
We'll say, yeah.
So are we only recording one side of the table?
Yeah, your side.
So it's supposed to follow the voices. I don't know why it's not doing that.
So, any more on staff updates?
I checked in with Public Works on Redwood paving because I know we had been talking about that crosswalk, and it sounds like it's starting in the next week or two. They're going to start the projects. I think they're going to start tearing up whatever where they're putting new pavement in the next week or so. And so I wanted to see with you all if we could confirm which. So the options, there's 2 options. Let's see if I get this.
We're recommending 15th and 17th.
Yes, and so I believe there's only a possibility for one to be,
Okay.
a crosswalk, so 15th here or 17th up here. And so I wanted to check in with you all on what the priority is.
So that's
So the access to the logging road is here, which is more from 16th. But there's no ADA access on this side of 16th, so that's not an option.
yeah, because we have infrastructure on both 17th and 15th.
Yes, you can see there's, and then I think 15th.
And do they have to do much there, or it's not just a paint thing? It's
I asked today and it sounded like it would be about $3 to $4 grand per each crosswalk you put in because of the thermal.
To the what?
Something about the thermal
On Fifth,
paint or
That sounds cheap to me.
labeling.
is there access on around 15th to the logging road?
Yeah,
Or is it,
Well, you just have to go
It's
around the
really
loop.
there
To
at 16.
There's one that kind of a
I
little,
thought it showed another one.
this is off 16th here, kind of. And then there's one off
Here's
18th.
18.
There's also one south.
So what's interesting is which direction are most people wanting to go? Do most of them want to go north or do most of them want to go
17th is
south?
more in the center of all the houses in that side.
Can we look at,
Well, I have a friend who retired from the Federal Highway Administration, and he insists that every intersection has crosswalks for pedestrians, whether they're marked or not.
Yes, legally, there's Oregon law that every intersection
It's a
is.
crosswalk.
a crosswalk?
And why ask, why don't we mark
Pedestrians
them?
have the right of way.
So why don't we
You
mark
have the
them?
money,
Because they don't have,
and you don't wanna encourage people to use it where you don't have ADA, you don't have actual.
and we have AED of both these.
Yes, so that is a contingency of this, but it sounded like they were confident that the sidewalk infrastructure is or will be sufficient to allow the crosswalks at either one of these intersections.
Did you tell Chief Truss what he said to both?
No, I didn't.
Tell him.
You can send an email.
If that has any pull.
Why is it that expensive? Is it just paint?
No,
It's some kind of special paint that's required.
That's
Don't
$4,000
they do curb
worth of
cut?
paint.
no.
Well,
The curb
but
cuts are already
also
there.
you're having
Oh,
to
All
stop
we're talking
traffic.
about
It's
is,
just painting.
no, it's pads they put down and the heat.
Oh.
You can tell the difference between paint and those thick pads for crosswalks. Because those are thermal, they have to heat the thing so they latch onto the pavement.
So
I was living on Fourth, and they just painted that when they did this crosswalk.
I think the standard is higher now,
Oh, I'm just saying, I mean, obviously there's the
so
Cadillac version, but maybe we have to go with the.
well, I mean, ideally, we'd like to see both 17th and 15th, but let's, whichever one is closest to the greatest density, it seems like would be the way to go. So if you kind of pull out even a little more.
it's here
I'd
and
say
here,
15.
so we're kind of looking, you know.
Well, we're talking about crosswalks across Redwood.
Correct.
Across
yes, So it
Redwood.
would be,
But
What do you guys
there's,
think?
am I wrong, or is there's no sidewalks there right now, is there?
Yes, there are.
it is very piecemeal because Redwood has only, you know, some of it is very new and some of it is very old. Like,
If you look at
There's no
fifth,
sidewalks there, so if
yes,
you're
that's
talking about
why.
pedestrians crossing, wouldn't you want to do it in a place?
Well, and I think the intent was that to make these
Connect up.
folks access to the trail easier, excuse me, the path easier. And
So
so
then-
thinking about getting them across Redwood is kind of
We
really,
have a gap in there where those trees are.
this is a property that's owned by
but
somebody.
there's sidewalks on the west side between 13th and 14th.
And is any more
there
of that going to be brought in soon?
What do you mean brought in?
We're aware.
Like
Nothing's in the
into
works.
I'm not aware of any development that's proposed for any of these lots. I think most of them are people that have owned the properties forever and I'm sure have been asked and have no interest right now.
So
Because, you know, with all the development around it, I'm sure somebody.
let's do a little show of hands. Does anyone have a strong feeling more on one than the other? Okay, then just whichever one they decide.
There's no strong preference, one or the other.
Yeah,
Okay.
Our strongest preference is that
Is
they do
both,
both.
But if it's only one, then.
So, yeah, we'll
Got it.
take what we can get, and then hopefully we'll suggest it again and.
So
Okay.
my granddaughter lives on 14th, but she doesn't cross Redwood.
Hmm.
No,
Oh, she's on this side.
because there's not a sidewalk.
Well, I think
There's no-
the practicality of somebody who commutes a lot, when there is no sidewalk, there is no preferred place to cross.
Mhm,
You're
sure.
basically spending the whole time looking around you, and you just cross when there's an opening in the cars. Only when the presence of sidewalks are continuous does it even make sense to use the sidewalks. Like where I'm at,
So-
and I often commute to work by walking. I don't use the sidewalks at all in my neighborhood because what little of them there are, it's just like, cross the street and do this, then there's no sidewalk for a few, and then you can go, the sidewalks have serve no purpose unless they're kind of continuous.
Right.
The crosswalk I use most often is on 11th.
Here,
Yes. I practically never use any other,
crosswalk.
because I use that to get over to the logging road right there,
Oh, I see.
Logging.
logging road path.
And I used to log around on
Usually kind of-
17th, but on the other side, and
Uh-huh.
there's no crosswalk there, but we just
On this side.
look for a space where there's no
Yeah.
cars, but there's.
Oh.
And that's just, I don't know, it's, I'm just talking out logically as a commuter on foot. I think when there's sidewalks, I pay attention to crosswalks. When there's no sidewalks, there's no practical reason to cross at one spot versus another.
I
I
agree.
see such lack of continuity south of 15th with sidewalks.
Yes.
And that's why I think it should be at 17th.
Sure.
That's my only reason. If we had sidewalks and continuity, I would say 15th, but we don't, and it doesn't look like it's coming.
But there are sidewalks between 11th,
There's-
12th,
yeah.
13th, 14th,
Like the
15th.
side roads, the Redwood doesn't
the
have the
west
sidewalk,
side.
but if the intention is to get you to the logging road, it's really
Yeah.
right more about these cross streets having sidewalks than Redwood itself, unless I guess you could kind of come 15th and then come up this way instead of going on Redwood. It would encourage you to take this way.
It's just that area east of 14th that there's no sidewalks, and further up.
And then, this here.
Because there's a sidewalk from 99E all the way up.
What side of the road is that on?
So the sidewalk is on the east side. And
And
then
then the sidewalk
then
jumps.
once you get around the curve, then there's a sidewalk on the west side.
Well, you know what, we yell next year for another crosswalk,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe all the way down around 11th or so.
Put one crosswalk now and then ask for another one once the first one's in.
No,
I mean, that's once the first one, just pick one to do it. And then once you do that, then we start bugging them for the other one.
no.
And then we get both of them doing it that way.
And he's looking at a budget and okay, I can do this much. Next year, maybe I can do another.
Yeah.
So if you're asking for my preference, I would do it on 11th, but I'm just one person.
But we don't have infrastructure there, correct? On all four corners?
We have sidewalks on all four corners on 11th. But
I
that's,
can
You're a long ways away from most people though.
but that's not where most of the new construction is. New construction is
here.
up north,
This is all pretty much brand new.
right?
Okay, let's
Let's do a show of hands.
do a show of hands, yeah. 11th? Okay. 15th? 17th? Okay,
I really have no
I'm
preference.
I
kind of
don't
indifferent.
care, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, I don't have.
So
Well, you want sidewalks, how we do
I will do
Right.
it.
it.
Yeah.
You want sidewalks, how we
kind of
do it.
leaning towards 17th.
Yeah, sidewalk would be
Okay,
a little,
but
bike
not
Dedicated
a-
bike
not
lanes?
either.
just a
So-
little bike, a little shoulder on the road would be
Yeah.
good enough.
And, okay,
That was all I had for today.
great. Thank you. And hotspots, anyone see any areas that need some trimming of bushes back, clearing of sidewalks, or any other type of hotspot area of late? If not, we will.
I forgot to mention,
Yes.
the bike lane on Redwood will be closed while there's construction.
Okay.
That
Makes
goes
sense.
without saying, but I just thought I'd mention to you all,
Thank
just
you.
since I know you're all. around town.
And Britt, anything else?
No, I did post what I was supposed to post before the, promote the forum, that took place in June. And I will keep an eye out for, Emma's little newspaper blurb and post that on the Carbs and Logging Road page.
Wonderful, thank you. And now follow up on our, let's zip over to our action items. Bruce, did you come up with any other info on the bike lane on
Yeah,
IB?
the problem is the width in front of the Pudding River Chocolate. It's not 4 feet, but if they are looking to calm traffic, they can narrow the lanes a little bit, creating that 4 feet that way. You also have a left-hand turn into, is it 13th? And if they shorten that up a little bit, they can create it that way, or a combination of.
Oh, good.
Okay, and if they don't do anything, you mark everything bike lanes except that little section.
Yeah.
So,
We can follow up with Jerry and Joe. If you can,
let me write that out.
can you write it out for me, and then I
Is
will
that
respond.
acceptable, the input here?
Sounds okay. Sounds reasonable.
No.
And moving on, following up on crosswalk striping, we just kind of covered that. And then Emma sent electronic form, which we already did. Okay. In that case, we do, considering next meeting, we do usually take a summer break. And I would love to see us take an August break if everyone's amenable. Is that okay?
I have family coming in from out of town, so.
That'll work.
I think that's the first night of that rodeo, right? 13th.
And so let's look at a September
So the
Sep-
next,
September 2nd Tuesday would be September 10th.
I can submit my minutes for the August 13th meeting right now.
No, I was gonna say, it's not gonna count.
You're so efficient.
It's not gonna count towards,
Oh, great.
sneaky.
you can't just say, well, it's not my fault, we didn't have a meeting.
September what?
10th,
10th?
yes, the second Tuesday.
Thanks for being here.
And otherwise, I'll take a motion to adjourn. When you're ready.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Bruce? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Stay cool.